Hey, Sammy here. I'm not your typical job counselor. I work remote and I travel the world as I kickstart careers. This is raw, real, and on the road.
Hi, I'm Sami, and this is the Career Kickstart Show. I am so excited because I have Suzie, and she is amazing. She does not just make her own Oracle decks. She is an artist. She's an intuitive mentor and all-around creator. So I'm really excited to have her on my show all the way from Australia. So Suzie, I can get really excited. So how about you introduce yourself and let us know what you do.
Okay, that's great. It's wonderful to be here, and thank you, Sami, so much for asking me. So for those people who don't know who I am, I'm Suzie Cheel. I'm the Heart Whisperer, and I live in paradise, what I call paradise anyway, on the Gold Coast of Australia. I walk on the beach every morning, and I suppose I actually live somewhere where as a teenager, I holidayed on. So this part of that thing for me is every day I do walk on the beach, and until recently, because I fractured my knee, I used to swim most days as well. So it's, but that's my life now. And as Sami said, I'm an artist, I'm an intuitive artist, and for those people who feel that they could never be an artist, I was told at 11 I couldn't draw, so I never got to do art at school. But then I went on to train as a preschool teacher initially, and as I trained as a preschool teacher, of course I got into all the creative stuff, and I loved it. And after I graduated from college, I lived in our capital city, Canberra, and I was very blessed. As a 20-year-old when I first started teaching, I got to work in the preschool that I'd actually gone to as a child, and I was in charge. So from my very early career, I've been in a leadership, almost a leadership role, I suppose, because I was running that preschool as a 20-year-old with an assistant who was a lot older than me,
Nice.
classes of 25, 30 young children. So that was how I started out. And since then, I'll just give a quick snapshot of what my career looks like, because I know Sami's going to ask me a lot of questions. So I went from being a preschool teacher, but alongside that, being a preschool teacher, I started doing what was then called tie-dye, which is now called shibori. So I always had that interest in the creative side of life. So I did that sort of alongside, and then I travelled overseas and I became a governess in Nigeria, looking after the Australian, or teaching the Australian High Commissioner's children. So I've also travelled a lot. And then I landed up back in London after Nigeria, and I taught as a nursery preschool teacher, nursery kindergarten first class teacher, and ran the library in some of the roughest schools in London I've ever been to. The kids' fathers are always going in and out of jail or whatever, and all the equipment was smashed. And then I got a permanent job somewhere where I could cycle to work, which was great. And while I was in London, I worked in a pub, a theatre pub, so I did a lot of other things. I developed other skills, and I also I learnt to weave. And I became very passionate about weaving. 5 years or so later, I came back to Australia, didn't know what I was going to do, really wanted to weave, but I didn't think that was going to probably make me any money. I got to set up a childcare centre for an ABC, I suppose what the equivalent of like the government television station for their staff. And then I fell into a college job of training childcare workers and became a, I suppose what you would call a college lecturer. And then I got to act as the head teacher. And I acted for 2 years. And I applied for that job. And I didn't get it. And it was that was a turning point for me in my career. Did I, as the principal wanted me to do, did I appeal? Or did I see, is there another way out? Is there a way out? So I was blessed. I was able to go part-time because I think I worked 2 days a week, 2.5 days a week. And I set up, this is the girl who couldn't draw or do anything. I set up something called Suzie Cheel hand-painted originals. Originally it was called Suzie Cheel because I didn't want to use my name. And for 15 years I ran a very successful textile art business. You can see behind me here a piece that I have since turned into an art piece, but that was some of the fabric. I coloured the world. So I did men's ties, I did clothing, I did hangings, interior design, a whole lot of different things. But as along with there, I also then decided I'd always been really involved with personal development. I bought Louise Hay, you know, when it first came out. I studied psychology. So I went and did a postgraduate course in what was then social communication. As part of that, I wrote a book. And then I did a master's in applied science, social ecology, where my thesis was on finding textile groups around the world. Then I became, after 15 years, the market sort of changed. I hated getting commissions where I had to paint yards and yards of the same fabric because it didn't really work for me. Now I know what I know. I would have done things in a different way. But after about 15 years, my husband, I was very blessed. Just before I was 40, I met my soulmate. He got into this thing called blogging, and he was all in this social media, and I wasn't at all interested. But then I discovered blogging, social media, communities, exactly what I'd been doing in my thesis. So I thought, I kept doing my textiles as a part-time thing. And then I started, my first blog was called The Abundance Highway, Your Journey to Freedom.
I love that name.
I am a law of attraction trained facilitator with Michael Lozier. And I started coaching and doing that, and was really about to take off when the universe decided to give me my second near-death experience in my life, and I had an autoimmune disease that went rogue. And the reason I'm telling you this, because this is the basis for the business that I have now, but you can see how I've transitioned in different ways using some of the skills I've got from other things, because all my teaching, of course, went into my training and my coaching. So I had a total kidney collapse. I had a choice, life, death, or dialysis in a heartbeat. I chose life, and I really couldn't understand why. So when I asked, it was I got this huge download sitting in a dialysis chair, and I said, well, Suzie, it's all about love. When you fully love yourself, you will be healed. And then that will be anchored in inner peace and joy. And that's the message you will share with the world, which is now you will often hear me saying, I stand for the power of love. As I was making my little video of my business, my business came about today, I'm typing up my journal from this time, and I'd come across Suzie's healing story, the path to self-love, and it was very much a spiritual journey. But out of that came, I started painting again. I started painting hearts, Don't ask me why. I painted 45 hearts as part of my healing. I am writing a book at the moment, and the name might change again. At the moment, it's called Lucky to Be Alive, how I use the law of attraction and the power of love to save my life, because the medicos just told me all these things wouldn't happen. And I do live, I have normal kidney function. I am checked every 6 months. I don't think it'll ever come back, but because they don't know what caused it. But out of that came these hearts. And that's how I came to do my own deck of oracle cards. And each one of these paintings is an individual painting.
Oh, they're beautiful.
They came out of that series and some other work I've done. And I was able to do this because about 15 years ago, somebody said, tell me about Doreen Virtue. And I went and trained as one of her angel intuitives. And so I've been reading, so I read cards. But now what I say I do is I open hearts to heal and prosper. And I do this through my art, through my readings, through my cards, my books, and my coaching and mentoring. So that's sort of my career snapshot.
Oh my goodness. What I love about your career is how you have built upon every skill that you have gotten over the years. You know, that's one thing that when I'm working with a lot of my clients or students is that they don't always take stock of all the awesome skills that they've gotten before when they want to do something new. You really organically built upon all of and I love how you're like, oh, no, it's just an au pair in Nigeria, and I just worked at inner city schools and blah, blah. Things are in a defining chapter of other people's lives. You're like, oh yeah, just another day in the life of Suzie. I love it, and for the people who are going to be listening to the podcast version, Suzie, would you show the cards again, just so I can describe a couple of them?
Right, okay, well, so I'll just show you. This is the back of the cards, and this is what I call the Heart Whisper signature.
Oh, and they're lovely.
People will notice it. I use it a lot around the web and things like that.
Yeah.
And then each card is a painting. Some of them from the early days. Mm-hmm. Some of them are from when I did I did 365 days of hearts. I painted every day for 365 days. And so somewhere, even though you mightn't see it, somewhere in there is a heart. And this is the passion card.
Yes.
And then all the messages I channeled.
Oh.
Yeah, I have, I just, the message on that is when you follow the path of your heart, the flame of passion will light up your life.
It's beautiful. It's so, all the colors that you use are so vibrant, and everything has this lovely dream quality. So for folks who are listening to this and not watching a video version, you really want to check out Suzie Cheel's Oracle cards. They are beautiful, and I will leave a link to her website in the show notes, because that's so cool. And I like how you have taken this sort of journey of, okay, you're teaching almost what you might call in the mundane world. You're teaching to children, you're seeing them just as they are, kind of in that stage where you almost lose some of your intuition. Society kind of is like, okay, you're in school, time to stop dreaming, and then you've kind of taken that to another level where you're working now with a lot of mentoring adults on how to, open their own intuition, how to open love, to almost get back to that child space, if you will. I don't know. Yeah,
we all need to refine that that inner child. I'm thinking about. I have a program I used to do years ago called Untap Your Creativity, to help people who, when they were 5 or 6, their creativity was shoved down. And that's what happens. It gets shoved down. But we all have it inside. And when we can open that up and allow it to flow, I think we also just automatically bring more love into our lives, because we think, And for those people who say, I can't draw or paint, it doesn't have to be drawing or painting. I think cooking is creative. I think people who sing, I can't sing very well in tune, but, you know, we forget things, people who sing, people who write, people who create beautiful poetry. Creativity just opens doors to, I think, yeah, to so many new avenues of expressing yourself.
Oh, so true. And it's something where, and I love how you've always used art for healing, you know, but you've had such an expansive career and you've really followed your heart and your intuition to do different things.
Not always.
Oh, well.
Sometimes I have.
Well, that actually brings me to my next question. What do you think has been the greatest gift that anyone has given you in your career, whether that's mentor time, advice, you know, opening a door? What would be the greatest gift that somebody has given you in your career?
I know this might sound funny, but what just came to me then, my greatest gift was probably not getting that job as a head teacher.
Oh.
I had to give up so much. I gave up holidays, you know, fortnightly pay, what we call superannuation here, all of that. But I would never have fully explored my art. I would never have had any real business skills, because I come from a public service town. I come from our capital, which is Canberra, and my parents were both public servants. And so we were brought up to, you know, have safe, secure jobs. So that, and through that artwork that I did, and through meeting my husband and that, because we then had a design business for a while, I just learnt so many skills. You know, so I just think that was a real gift to me. And I suppose one of the other earlier on, you know, that opportunity I was given to go to Nigeria as a governess. I mean, that just opened travel, gave me travel that I hadn't. And that's something I would like to, now at this stage of my life now, I want to do more travel. And, you know, just there's more places. I've seen lots of the world, but maybe I haven't seen as much of Australia as I would like. And I'd like to incorporate what I'm doing now in a way that I can, you know, have that sort of laptop lifestyle, and maybe keep painting little paintings rather than big paintings.
Well, if you can have a good home base and then travel around, that means that you're winning. What you were telling me about your surf town that you're living in, that sounds lovely. I am also looking for a surf town, so that would be something ideal for me. So, but that is fantastic, and that's one of the things that a lot of times people, when they get a setback, they don't often realize that that could be the best thing that could happen. Having that door slam closed like that means that you have to like find another door, you know, so that can be fantastic. One thing I thought was curious when you were telling me about how, you know, you haven't always listened to your intuition, that makes me think of the next question, which is, what was your biggest career mistake? And I ask everybody this because I feel like we so often learn from people's successes, but you can really learn a lot when people make a mistake. So what was your biggest career mistake?
Not listening to my intuition, looking at, thinking there was, after, I suppose I got a bit bored with the art craft world of galleries and always chasing money and doing that sort of thing. So we were looking at other ways of property and share trading and all of that, and was going really well. But I knew we then got into a bad position and lost all our property and everything. And that to me was, I knew then I wasn't following my I wasn't following my gut. I hadn't discovered heart whispers at that point, but I hadn't followed my gut. And I suppose when just before I had the kidney collapse, that was another lesson for people, is I was trying to be everything to everybody. I was trying to think I could fit my art in somewhere, and always helping people and had things going in lots of different directions. I was about to launch a whole a program on abundance, and I was doing interviews, and I just think I allowed myself to get overwhelmed. So out of that adversity, which was a long healing, I spent a lot of time on a bed. But out of that was the gift of my art, was the gift of this, and is the gift of the new business. Because although I've been playing with this, it's only this year that, or maybe last year, this year, that I really feel it's coming together. I'm listening to my heart, and I now know what my message is. And, you know, I've always wanted to change the world, and I know I inspire and empower, but I want to create more ripples of love that will create more ripples of change in the world.
Oh, I love that. And I love the heart whispering, and I love it, Suzie. And that is what is so powerful. You know, I completely understand about listening to your intuition and going for stability. I mean, I spent like 8 years both in uni doing undergrad and then master's, because I was like, I need to have a nice, safe career. And I went up for being a librarian. And then once I graduated after years of working in a library, I was like immediately like laid off and budget cuts, you know, because sometimes going for stability, you're not always going to find it. But at least if you listen to your gut and things go to pot, at least you can be like, at least I did what I wanted to do. Suzie, I have really been enjoying my talk with you, but we're getting towards the end, and I really want the folks who are listening and watching to know how to find you and what you're doing next. So let everybody know where you are on the web and what's the latest from Suzie.
Okay, right. Well, first of all, you can find me at SuzieCheel.com, and that's for the people who can't see the screen. That's SUZIE for the Americans, HEEL.com. And on that, you will, if immediately, all my art isn't there because I'm rebuilding a site for that. But what I offer is I offer readings. But my most exciting thing is I've almost finished putting this together. I've been doing something called a Heartscape, which can be probably a 4 to 6 to 8 week process, where I work with people who, the last person I worked with felt they didn't love themselves. They were I think they just finished working, not sure whether they're going to retire, really lost direction, no purpose, felt unworthy, unloved. So I worked with this lady. We started with a coaching session, but we started with a reading. And then I started painting. And I painted a layer, and I channeled a message, and then I would send it to her, and then I would get her response. And this went back and forwards for her probably over about 8 or 9 weeks. I did 14 layers. Ooh. And I'm really excited about this, because this woman can now say, I love myself, I know I'm worthy, and I've got a sense of purpose. And I'm just putting together her like a movie of the painting and a book and things, and she was really happy for me to share the whole thing on my website. So I'm really excited. We've just finished this. And for, have I got anything here? Yeah, I've got one. Yeah. And this is, just to give somebody an example, this was one, this is about 8 layers. This was one that I did. I did this one for myself at the beginning of the year.
I love it looks, for people who are listening, it's a beautiful purple ring with a very like interesting textured blue, purple, teal background, and then there's gold. I love it. Looks like a halo.
Yeah, and I'll put on, that one will be on my website. People can see all the different, I photograph it at each stage, but of course the ones that I've done for people, I post, and I post around the world. This is one of the most exciting things I'm doing, and so that is on my website, but the detail with the video and things is coming. And how people can also get more of me is through my Facebook page, where I share the Daily Heart Whisper, which is a writing from my heart with what your action steps and things are for the day. And I do meditations, and I have a group called the Heart Whisperers on Facebook.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Suzie, for sharing your insight, your wisdom, and your artistic talents. I feel like artists are some of the best people because they show us into not just our heart, but into what we could have in this world if we just kind of listened a little closer to ourselves. So thank you so much, Suzie.
It's absolutely my delight. I absolutely love talking with you, and I love sharing my story. And because I was doing this today, it made me think back to all the things I had done in my life, whereas I sort of tend to focus more on the now and the healing that I've been going through, rather than all the other things but because it was of what you were talking about, I thought, wow, I've got so much to share with people who feel, I can't do anything different. And as you say, I have the wisdom, and I really help people who need to break out of that. Can be, I don't know, that regular sort of, we get caught in a security trap. I understand it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It takes guts to move.
It does. Stagnation, career rot, it is so easy to fall into. And it's one of those things where you have to shake it up, because you never know when that stability ends and you're like, oh, wow, now I have to figure myself out.
You're never too old. That's the other thing. You're never too old. Think of, Louise Hay started at Hay House in her 60s. Other people have started things in their 70s and 50s, and and some people say, people say, I couldn't do anything now, and they might be only in their 50s or early 60s. I think even another 30 years or so of your life to go, wow, well, I know I have. My parents lived a long while, so I've got a lot of time. So it's exciting. Life is exciting. And I'm so happy you invited me onto this show. I've really enjoyed sharing.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Suzie. You're an inspiration. And to everybody listening, thank you. This is the Career Kickstart Show, and I am Sami, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye.
Find something cool at cool.careerkickstartacademy.com.